Welcome back to JGI JCEE Connect revision classes on modern interface design. We have been discussing about user interface design process, and topics that would be covered today are menus, their structures, functions, and what should be the contents of the menus, followed by formatting and different types of graphical menus. So we begin our discussion with structures of menus. So menus vary from very simple to very complex. They may range from small dialog boxes requesting the user to choose between one of the two alternatives to a hierarchical tree schemes with many branches and levels of depth. A menu's structure defines the amount of control given to the user in performing a task. The most common menu structures are single menus, sequential linear menus, and simultaneous menus, hierarchical or sequential menus, connected menus, and event trapping menus. So we shall discuss all these different types of structures one after the other. So by single menu, we mean to say that it's the simplest form of a menu. In this, a single screen or a window is presented to seek the user's input or request an action to be performed. So in using the internet, for example, at a point in the dialogue, people may be asked if they would like to stay on the same page or would like to disconnect. So this is an example of a single menu, right? So a single menu may be an alternative if it requires data to be entered into it, and this data input is subjected to validity check that fails. The menu will then be represented to the user with a message requesting a re-entry of a valid data. So single menus can be used like this. So then we can also have a look at these single menus here. So if you can observe, this is a single menu. So you have radio buttons in it and you can select any one option at a time, right? So then moving on to the next one, that is sequential linear menus. So sequential linear menus are presented on a series of screens possessing only one path of navigation, right? So the menu screens are presented in some preset order, and their objective is for specifying parameters or for entering some data. The length of the path may be short or may be long, but depending upon the nature of the information that is being collected. So all the menus are important to the process at the hand and must be answered in the same manner by the user, right? So you can see the example of sequential menus, how exactly they look like. So this figure 4.2 is an example of sequential linear menus. So you can see in the first window you have menu 1, you have 3 choices. If you select any one of these choice, depending upon the choice, you will be sent to the other menu windows, right? So going back to sequential linear menus, so the sequential path menus have several shortcomings. A long sequence may become tedious as menu after menu are presented to the user, and the user may not remember an answer to the previous question. A question that is important to the currently presented choices may be forgotten, right? And the user may also want to return to the previous menu to change his answer, or maybe just to have a look at his answer. So in this case, it really becomes a very awkward process. And finally, the user may conceptually want to complete the menus in different order than in which they are being presented to him. In that case also, sequential linear menus cannot work properly, right? So then moving on to the next one, that is the simultaneous menus. So instead of being presented on a separate screen all menu choices that are available so instead of being presented on separate screens, what we do here is all menu choices are available to us simultaneously, right? So the menu may be completed in the order desired by the user. So choices being skipped can also be returned at a later point in time. So all alternatives are visible for reminding the choices, or maybe even to compare the choices, or maybe even the user can change the answers. So the TDM associated with a long series of sequential menu is here reduced to a large extent. So let us have a look how exactly this simultaneous menus look like. So we have already seen single menus, then we have seen sequential linear menus, and then now this is how our simultaneous menus look like. So we have all the alternative choices that are appearing on a single window here, right? So let's go back to the structures of menus here. So now we shall discuss about the hierarchical or sequential menus. So before moving on to hierarchical or sequential menus, there are some problems that are associated with simultaneous menus too. So that are for large collections of menu alternatives, the screen may sometimes look very cluttered, right? And then the screen paging, scrolling may still be necessary to view all the choices. So this type of menu must also clearly indicate the menu choice relationships and their dependencies. Something better accomplished in linear menus or hierarchical menus, right? So presenting many menu dependencies and relationships on a single screen is an indication of a poor interface, and can also be very confusing to a very new user, or what we call him as a novice user. So then moving on to the next type of menus, that is the hierarchical or sequential menus. So when many relationships exist between menu alternatives, and some menu options are only appropriate depending upon the selection of previous menu. In that case, hierarchical structure becomes the best solution. So in website design, hierarchical menus are often referred to as sequential menus, right? So don't get confused between sequential menus and sequential linear menus here. So a hierarchical structure results in an increasing refinement of choices as menus are stepped through. For example, from options to sub-options, from categories to subcategories, from pages to sections to subsections, and so on, right? So a hierarchical structure can best be represented as an inverse tree leading to more and more branches as one moves downwards, right? So the order and structure of branching in hierarchy is preset, and the normal order of flow is one way, that is right from top to bottom. So the disadvantage of this hierarchical scheme is that the defined branching order may not fit the user's conception of task flow. If the user is not familiar with the hierarchical menu or unable to predict what sub-options lie below a particular choice, then they may go down wrong paths, finding it necessary to go back up the tree to change the choices, or perhaps even to return to the toppest level of the menu. So therefore, it's very important that the hierarchies be consistent with user expectations, and that the choice uncertainties be reduced as much as possible. So let us have a look at hierarchical menus. How do hierarchical menus look like? So these are our hierarchical menus. So we start from menu 1. Depending upon what answer you have selected, you might be diverted to either menu 2, 3 or 4. And again, upon the answers that you select in the second level, you could be going on to the next level, that is level 2, and so on. Right? So then moving on to the next structure of menus, that is connected menus. So connected menus are networks of menus all interconnected in some manner, and movement through a structure of menus is not restricted to a hierarchical tree, but it is permitted between most or all menus in the networks. Right? From the user's perspective, there is no top-down traversal of the menu system, but an almost unhindered wandering between any two menus of interest is supported here. So a connected menu system may be cyclic with movement permitted in either directions between the menus, or acyclic with movements permitted in only one direction. But these menus also vary in connectivity to an extent to which menus are linked with may be linked by multiple paths. So the biggest advantage of this connected menu network is that it gives the user a full control over the navigation flow. But the disadvantage is it gets complicated, and its navigation may be very difficult for an very difficult to understand for an inexperienced user, right? So let us see how exactly this connected menu structures look like. So as you can see, the biggest advantage of connected menu network is that it gives the user full control over the navigation flow, and its disadvantage is it's very complex, and the navigation might tend to be difficult for an inexperienced user. So we move on to the next type of menu, that is so we also have something called as event trapping menus. So they are a set of simultaneous menus imposed on hierarchical menus. So in graphical systems, for example, existing together are simultaneous menus, the menu bar and the hierarchy. That is the menu bar and its pull downs. So event trapping menus generally serve one of the three functions. They may immediately change some parameter in the current environment, or they may take the user out of the current environment to perform a function without leaving the current environment, or they may exit from the current environment and allow the user to move to a totally new environment. So these menus can also change content based upon the system state or event or an event existing at that particular moment. So then we now move on to the functions of menus. So a menu can be used to perform several functions, right from navigating to a new menu, to executing an action, to display an information, or even to input some data or parameters, right? So how do we make use of a menu for navigation, right? So each user selection causes another menu in the hierarchical menu tree to be displayed, right? The purpose of each selection is to divert the user towards an objective or a goal. So selection errors may lead the user to some may lead the user down to some wrong paths, and if this may lead to wastage of times and perhaps aggravations, but these errors are non-destructive and usually undoable, right? So menus can also be used to perform an action or a procedure. The action may be something like opening or closing a file, copying a text, or sending a message, right? So similarly, menus can also be used to display the information. So for example, if the user may be searching for a specific information in the database or browsing the web, his primary focus will be on the information he requires, right? And less on the selection functions, right? So the information retrieved may occur only after some hierarchical menu tree navigations. Okay. So then the next one is data or parameter input. So each selection may specify a piece of input data for the system or provides a parameter value. So data or values may be input on a single menu or might be spread over a hierarchy of menus. So basically users focus will be primarily be on fetching the information that is needed to him. Okay. So then moving on, the contents of the menu. So a menu consists of four elements, that is its context, its title, its description, and its completion instructions, right? So let us see all these four different elements one after the other. So what do we mean by menu context here? So menu's context basically provides information to keep the user oriented. So this kind of information is critical in case of complex and hierarchical menu systems where the loss of position or disorientation can easily occur. So in that case, feedback becomes very necessary to tell the user where they are in the entire process of navigation. Or you may also have to tell what were their past choices and possibly how far are they still to navigate, right? So verbal linkage may be used to provide navigation feedback, right? So verbal linkage involves providing on the current menu screen a list of choices that were made in the previous menu that have led the user to this current position, right? Similarly, you can also make use of spatial linkage that can be accomplished by making use of graphic methods. That is, each successive menu screen can be displayed overlapping the previous menu screen so as to succession of choices can be seen on a single window, right? And then menu titles are must because they provide the context for the current set of choices, as the titles reflect the choices selected on the previously displayed menus, right? And then choice descriptions. So these are alternatives available to the users, right? So these descriptions can range from mnemonics to numerics to alphabetic list of choices and may sometimes even be words, phrases, or full sentences, right? So the style that is chosen will reflect the experience of the user. So if it's a novice user, then you might have to specify a full sentence as a menu, or if it is just an experienced learned user, then you can make use of keyboards or shortcut keys, right? So the nature of the choices, the nature of the selection mechanism, and the nature of the system depends upon the experience of the user here. Okay, so then completion instructions. So these tell the users how to indicate their choices. They may include rationale for why the user is being asked to make this choice and what would be the impact of this choice, right? And what would be the impact of these choices on to the subsequent processes. So explicit instructions may be needed for the first time or for the casual users of the system, but whereas the experienced user will find it overly verbose instructions which are totally unnecessary for him, right? So the needs for all system users and the nature of the system must again be considered when you try to create on-screen guidance, right? So then moving on to formatting of menus. So there are a series of guidelines for formatting the menus. So menu design and presentation will have to follow all these guidelines. So menus must be consistent, right? So and then we'll also have to concentrate on the display of the menus. Okay, we'll discuss all these one after the other. So what do we mean by consistency? So consistency, like all other aspects of screen design, menu design must also be consistent, right? And menu formatting, phrasing, choice selection, and navigation must be consistent throughout the graphical system or the website. So the next one is display. So here we are supposed to monitor whether to display a menu continually or on demand, right? So this is determined by menu's frequency of use, right? Always permanently displayed menus that are frequently referenced, right? And this will provide a memory support and immediate access to what is needed the most. And sometimes occasionally needed menus, right, that we do not access oftenly might be presented on request either by making use of pop-ups or pull downs, right? And then the next one is we are also supposed to present them, we're also supposed to concentrate on their presentations. So when you are trying to present the menus, ensure that its choices are obvious to the user by presenting them with a unique and consistent structure. Also have a close look on the location where they are displayed as well as the display techniques that are being used for presenting them, right? And ensure that other system components do not possess the same visual qualities as that of your menu choices. So there should be a clear demarcation there. And then the next one is menu organization, right? So in organizing a menu, the goal is to keep it as simple as possible and effectively reveal its structure. So in case of a top level menu in a hierarchical menu scheme should be general or main menu consisting of basic system options. This will provide the content starting point for all system activities and a home base to which the user may always return. So you can make use of this general menu organization, or you may have relevant menu alternatives, right? So here a menu should be must provide all relevant alternatives including irrelevant choices on a menu screen, which increases the learning requirement, right? So then moving on to the next formatting, that is the next guideline, that is complexity. So there are possibilities that we can provide both types of menus, the simplest one and the complex menus also. So in case of simple menus, the minimal set of we try to incorporate minimal set of actions and menus. But in case of complex menus, a complete set of actions and menus are being incorporated, right? So therefore provide, so therefore menus must effectively satisfy the differing needs of novice as well as expert user. So then the next factor is the item arrangement. So for scanning ease, menu choices should be arranged left justified and aligned vertically into columns. When menus are included on other screens, space constraints often exist and the menus must be arranged horizontally. If a single row horizontal orientation is necessary, organize them from left to right reading. Right? If two or more rows are available for displaying the choices, then you can organize for top to bottom and then left to right reading to facilitate the visual scanning. Right? So then moving on to ordering and groupings. So here we can order these list of choices by their natural order. So for lists associated with numbers, you can make use of numeric orders, or for textual lists with small number of options, you can order by their sequence of occurrence, frequency of occurrence, or maybe the importance of use, and maybe the semantic similarities. So use of alphabetical orders can be used in case of long lists and short lists too with an obvious pattern or frequency, right? So it's very necessary to maintain a consistent ordering of options on all the related menus. So then moving on to groupings. So try to create groupings of items that are logical, distinctive, meaningful, and mutually exclusive. Right? So categorize them in such a way as to maximize the similarities of items within the category and minimize the similarities of items across the categories. And when you try to group the menus together, see to that no more than 6 or 7 groupings happen on a same screen, right? So separate groupings must be created either by using wider spacing or by using thin ruled lines. Okay, and try to see that you provide an immediate access to critical or frequently chosen items. So then moving on to the next factor here, that is the line separators. So you can always make use of line separators to separate vertically arrayed groupings with solid lines, or you can also separate the vertically arrayed subgroupings with dotted or dashed lines, right? So for subgroupings within a category, you can have left justify the lines under the first letter of the columnized choice description, right? Or you can even have right justification. For independent groupings, you can make use of lines that can separate the left and the right menu borders, right? So then the next factor here is the selection support of menus. So when a small discrete set of functions is accessed, then more of the time we try to make use of folded menus, right? And when a small set of items are selected, most of the times, then on the and the other items are selected with very lesser frequency, then we make use of split menus. And if there is no small discrete set of items that are not at all that are uh, uh, that are used more, then you can make use of traditional menus, right? So these are all different factors used to format the menus.